Hello everybody, Joel Tadman and Neil Tappin here from Golf Monthly. In this video we're going to be testing the new Titleist TSi2 and TSi3 fairway wood, seeing exactly how they compare and what type of performance you can expect.
Yeah, I'm going to hit the TSi2 and then Joel's going to hit the TSi3. We're going to talk about some of the key technologies, but probably more importantly talk about the performance, the sound and the feel to give you an idea of exactly, what the differences are and which one might be right for you. Right, let's get started.
Right Neil, so I've got the TSi3, you've got the TSi2 fairway wood. What was your first impressions when you put this down behind the ball?
The first thing was how similar they are.
Well, between the two,
yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when we looked at the TSi2 and 3 drivers, you could see a big difference between the two. That's not, I wouldn't have said, the case here. That was the first thing I noticed. And secondly, I'd been using the TS3 fairway wood from the previous generation, and I'd say that both of these are slightly a hair smaller.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. Less differentiation between the two models. So if you want to hit a few away, Neil, into this par 5, you mentioned that you're a TS3 player before, but we both got fitted for these, and you actually got fitted into the TSi2, didn't you, Neil?
Yeah, I found the performance between the two quite similar, actually. So it was a toss-up between going for something in the TSi3 that was possibly a little bit more workable. It was a little bit longer, stronger ball flight, versus something that was just easier to launch. And for me, I felt like, I would say, Joel, over the years, fairway woods have been probably the hardest clubs in the bag for me to hit.
Yeah.
And I've benefited from using things with a little bit more loft,
yeah,
that I can just get up in the air and launch, and that's why I veered towards TSi2.
Well, especially if you use it mostly off the deck, that's going to help those type of golfers out, going to opt for something that's a little bit higher launch, and the TSi2 is going to deliver that. You mentioned the workability on that. So TSi fairway actually have similar technologies to the TSi drivers, so a new aero shape should make it a bit quicker through the air. We haven't got the ATI face on here, but we do have a new arc channel design, so it's a little bit thinner, it's a little bit lighter, saves a bit of weight just to make these a bit more user friendly. And obviously there's some differentiation between the adjustability on this TSi3 compared to your TSi2, which we'll come on to later. But feel and sound, Neil, what did you think about how it felt?
Yeah, I thought they feel fantastic through the ball. Really a solid impact sound, powerful is how I describe it. Yeah. Not too of a louder impact sound that feels like you've got no strength of the ball flight. It does pop the ball up in the air easily.
Right, so Neil, so let's talk a little bit about the performance between, or your fitting experience with TSi2 compared to what you had before in TS3.
Yeah, what I would say is with TS3, I love that 3 wood.
Yeah.
It's, as I said before, 3 wood's been hard for me to find. I found something that I was able to hit consistently well off the tee, off the deck, so I'm not in any rush to change that.
Right.
And I would say that what Titleist have done is they've sort of built on that performance. It's not, it's not massively different to what you were getting before. A slight difference in terms of the look. For me, I actually went down a little bit in loft, so the performance, it's hard to compare it like for like, because I went down 1.5 degrees in terms of loft. That gave me an extra 9 yards in terms of carry, but the ball flight was very consistent, and it was still, getting up there, it was still very stable and up in the air.
Yeah.
Which is what I need. That's what I need in order to feel like I'm not swinging at it too hard.
Yeah.
And that's when things go wrong.
Well, that's interesting. You come down in loft, but you're still seeing the same flight window on both of those models.
Yes, there was a little bit less spin, but not as much as you would expect, given that I've come down 1.5 degrees.
Okay. Is that extra distance going to give you gapping issues? A lot of people maybe don't want extra distance with your fairway wood because it creates bigger gaps in your bag. Is that something you'd experience?
Yeah, possibly, and that's maybe something that everyone needs to kind of work on. You need to work on that with the fitter. I think I'll probably figure that one out as I play a little bit more golf with it, but it's just good to know there is more distance to play with if I need it.
Definitely.
Once I felt like I was in control with it, I would have immediately switched if I thought to myself, okay, fine, it's going further, but I'm not in control. But I hit the fairway wood very well. I was hitting shot after shot after shot. I was going the same ball flight, same distance, very, very consistent. So I was really happy with the consistency. So yeah, happy to get a bit more yardage. But if that changed, then I'd probably maybe up the loft a little bit, possibly.
Good insights there. Why don't you hit one more just to finish off with your TSi2. Brilliant shot. Nice and high. might even be on the green.
So whilst I went for the TSi2, Joel, you went for the TSi3.
I did.
Why did you go for TSi3?
Similar story with the driver in that I'm always trying to fight that miss to the left, and with TSi3 you've got the option of the movable weight. There's 3 different positions, heel, neutral and toe. So having that weight in the toe, you mentioned workability. For me, I don't want to really shake the ball, I want to see it go nice and straight, and having that weight in the toe just creates a bit more fade bias, straightens out my ball flight, gives me a bit more consistency.
Yeah, it's very clever actually how that works. Do you want to just hit a couple of shots for us? Did you notice any more discernible differences in terms of the performance between the two when you were testing it over what I experienced?
It was interesting really, because the fitter really was immediately steering me away from TSi2 just because of the adjustable shot shape weighting here. TSi3 was always going to be a better fit for me, so I didn't hit a lot of shots with TSi2. And actually, he was kind of up against it with the shots I hit with my current fairway with the Carry Maverick Sub-Zero. Hit 3 really good shots with it, and while TSi3 only got me 1 mile an hour ball speed and a little tiny bit more distance, it was the grouping that really changed. So the grouping was much tighter with this TSi3, and that's what I'm always fighting with my fairway. Accuracy is something I struggle with, but this really gave me a much tighter dispersion.
I would say just a sort of broader point with some of the big developments that I think the manufacturers have made in the last couple of years have been in the fairway wood department. They are getting easier to hit.
Yeah.
So many golfers, not just us, but also on tour, they don't swap their fairway woods very often because they are hard to find, and when you find something you like, you hang on to it because you're worried about what might happen. Whereas now, it feels like the manufacturers are unlocking easier to hit, more consistent performance for people.
Definitely. That shot there, I actually hit it slightly heavy. You probably saw on the camera, but I definitely got away with it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that probably
the turf
went
interaction's really good with this. This new arc design doesn't interfere with the ground. When you're striking it, it's slightly heavy, you still get away with it, and that weight system as well, it sits really flush to the sole. That's something I would be worried about, but if you look at the sole of it, it sits completely flush to the sole, so there's no worry about getting it stuck in the ground, and you can clearly get away with some,
hit
some bad strikes. But I just love the look of this. With the white grooves either side of the face, just really helps frame the ball.
And they're relatively compact down behind the ball, but I think that for most people, there's still definitely an appealing, that's a great shot, an appealing view. They also have that fantastic shelf appeal that I think Titleist have built into the drivers as well. It's the same here. You'll notice the 2 has this grey finish, whereas the 3 is that slightly more stealthy black finish to it. They look superb, don't they?
And the feel as well. I mean, I'd say actually probably more so than drivers, this one just feels so good out the middle. Like, that was a good hit, and it just feels awesome. Just want to hit another one.
Yeah, they're clearly working on making fairway woods as consistent for people as possible.
Yeah, it's definitely something I noticed. This seems to be easier to hit, longer and straighter.
Lovely, nice slight draw.
Bit of draw there, so I'm still able to draw it with that fade bias. Even I've got a flatter lie angle as well, so it's clearly built to fade, but I'm still able to draw it when I want to.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth saying that there's so many different options, not only with the driver but with the fairway woods as well. It's something that if you go through it with the fitter, you'll be able to, they'll make tweaks that maybe you won't even know, things that are going to really help you. But I would say you want to speak to your fitter about what you need while you're out on the golf course, because Joel, some of the things that you've talked about, I wouldn't have necessarily, we've played golf together a lot over the years, I wouldn't have necessarily known that you want the club set up in a certain way, but actually having it set up that way can really help you. So that feedback that you can give a fitter can make a big difference, can't it?
And also, whether you hit it more off the tee or off the deck makes a big difference to how you set up your fairway wood. So for me, it's actually mostly off the tee. So they're thinking about things like shaft and loft to really maximise performance and make sure during a fitting you hit shots off the tee. If you're only using it off the tee, really, make sure you hit shots off the tee and get fitted off the tee compared to hitting shots off the deck. Okay,
so of the 2, I've gone for TSi2 because that easier to hit, just launching, bang, just get it up in the air. I felt was going to be the big thing for me. You wanted the ability to position the weight where you wanted it. Anyone you watching this will have your own ideas about what might be right for you. Joel, what are we looking at in terms of the price of these fairway woods?
So these coming in at 279. So like the drivers, towards the top end of that price spectrum. But as we've talked about, there's a lot of fitting options and performance to be had from these 2 fairway woods. There's also the option of those upcharged shaft options as well, which we tried in the drivers. We didn't try them in the fairwoods, but could unlock even more performance compared to what the heads offer in those standard shaft
Yeah,
options.
3 graphite design options, I think, so
Yeah.
keep your eyes peeled for those. So there you have it. That's the TSi2 and the TSi3 fairway woods from Titleist. Before you go, please do hit the pause button. Let us know, what do you think about what Titleist have done, not only with the fairway woods, but with their sort of theory behind their metal woods as a whole. We'd be interested to hear what you have to say. And which one of these two do you think you would go for? Again, we'd be interested to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely, Neil. So that's all from us from West Hill. It's goodbye. We'll see you next time.